Welcome, dear Aries. Whether you're a loyal friend of this channel or wandering in for the very first time, I'm glad you found your way to Zodiac Talks Tarot. Today's reading is not meant to feel like some mysterious figure pulling cards in a smoky back room, but more like two old friends meeting in a cafe, sipping coffee, and noticing how the universe keeps eavesdropping on our conversation. This is not fortune-telling in the carnival sense. It is a deeper reflection on how your love life intersects with psychology, social patterns, and the cosmic rhythm guiding you right now. Aries, you are one of the chosen ones in what I call the Year of Triumph 2025, a season where your fiery nature will be tested, refined, and yes, rewarded. And because you are Aries, you probably already tried to skip ahead to the ending, but stay with me, this story is worth savoring. Think of it this way, love for you has never been just about candlelit dinners or endless text threads. It's a battlefield of wills, an adventure that demands both courage and vulnerability. You thrive in the chaos of passion, yet what the cards reveal this September is not chaos but construction, a blueprint for something enduring. The universe is nudging you toward a connection that wants more than sparks. It wants a foundation, 4 walls, and a door with your name on it. If that sounds terrifying, remember that even the boldest Aries needs a place to set down the sword and armor at the end of the day. With a touch of humor, I'd say the cosmos is practically begging you to stop picking fights for sport and start picking someone who will actually hold your hand when the battles are over. So take a breath, let the ego rest, and know that this month, Aries, your heart is being invited into something that feels less like a duel and more like destiny. When I sit down to study the movement of the cards, the planets, and the human heart, I often think of love less as a lightning strike and more as architecture. Not architecture in the glossy magazine sense where everything is perfect and symmetrical, but in the gritty, real-world sense, blueprints that get coffee stains, bricks that sometimes crack, and beams that need to be nailed back into place after a storm. For you, Aries, the 3 of Pentacles and 4 of Wands are whispering that someone in your life is thinking of more than just a casual "hey, let's see where this goes." They're dreaming of foundations, cornerstones, and the kind of relationship that feels like a house you can walk into after a long day, not a tent you throw up on the side of the road and hope doesn't blow away with the wind. Now, I know your instinct. You leap before you look. You thrive on the quick burn of adrenaline, the "wow, they actually noticed me" rush, the thrill of passion at first glance. For Aries, the chase itself can sometimes feel like the reward. But this person you're connected to? They're not rushing. They're not sprinting through the starting line only to burn out halfway. They're pacing themselves, intentional, slow enough to notice the details you'd normally charge past. Think hammer and nails, not fireworks and sparklers. You, my fiery friend, might call that boring on first glance. But trust me, boredom and stability are two very different things. Psychology tells us something fascinating. Our brains often confuse intensity with intimacy. That argument you two had, the sharp words, the eye rolls, maybe even the kind of silence where you could hear the refrigerator humming in the background, that wasn't just noise. It was evidence. We rarely argue with people who don't reach into the tender, unguarded places of our soul. The 5 of Wands energy here doesn't spell disaster, it says you matter to each other enough to fight, which is already more than indifference. And make no mistake, indifference, not conflict, is the true opposite of love. If you ever find yourself with someone who shrugs when you walk away, run. At least with this person, the sparks are real. But here's where the story takes a turn. They regret it. Not in that lazy, corporate HR style apology of "I'm sorry you feel upset," but in the bone-deep recognition of "I might have broken something sacred, and I need to repair it." They're showing up Knight of Cups style, cup in hand, heart open, the universal symbol of peace offering. Imagine them rehearsing what to say in the mirror, tripping over their words, hoping they don't spill metaphorical soup all over your lap when they try to serve you an apology. And here's where the old wisdom traditions add a layer. Buddhism teaches us that forgiveness is not about condoning harm, nor pretending it never happened. It's about release. When you cling to the ember of resentment, you're the one holding the flame against your skin. You get burned, not them. To forgive is to set down the coal, to allow space for love to return where bitterness once stood. And that's exactly what this person is hoping for, that you'll let go of the ember, that you'll allow the flame to warm instead of wound. So the question becomes, Aries, can you balance your natural fire with the steady hand of compassion? Can you let someone hammer in nails while you provide the passion that keeps the walls from ever going cold? Because if you can, this isn't just another chapter in your messy dating history. It might be the blueprint for something real, something lasting, something you didn't even know you were ready to build. When we step into the deeper currents of this reading, Aries, we find ourselves standing in front of Justice and the Two of Cups. These are not the cards of flirtation or the let's see what happens mindset. No, these are the symbols of commitment, of shared responsibility, of two people recognizing that love, when real, comes with weight as well as wonder. Justice is not about romance in the Hollywood sense, it's about fairness, truth, and balance. Paired with the Two of Cups, it points to a connection where both people are willing to look one another in the eye and say, this isn't just convenient. This is real. Let's build something together. And yes, in some cases, this even suggests a legal or official step: marriage, contracts, shared property, the whole us against the world package. Not everyone is ready for that, but this person in your life seems to be leaning that way. They are not interested in parading you around in noisy groups or constantly posting curated snapshots for social media approval. What they want is intimacy, less of the double date dinners and more of the quiet evenings where the conversation flows into dreams, fears, and visions of the future. In truth, it is in those hushed moments, when the world fades and only two voices remain, that true relationships are forged. As someone who has studied both astrology and psychology for decades, I can tell you that this kind of union is rare. The chosen ones among Aries will feel this even more strongly. This isn't a fleeting romance, it's an invitation to a conscious partnership. It's the kind of bond where both individuals sharpen each other, much like steel against steel. Sometimes it sparks, sometimes it grinds, but ultimately it forges strength and resilience. Now, let's not forget the shadow side. Despite the fire of their King of Wands energy, your person carries a quiet fear. The Three of Swords looms in the background, whispering doubts. What if Aries doesn't feel the same? What if the argument cut too deeply? What if rejection is waiting on the other side of this confession? For them, vulnerability feels like standing naked in a snowstorm. For you, Aries, clarity is your currency. You'd rather have an answer, even a harsh one, than waste time in limbo. That's why you might find yourself exasperated, muttering, "Why don't they just text me already?" while they're pacing the floor rehearsing a single line for the 15th time. The humor here is obvious. You thrive in bold moves, while they're busy tying themselves in knots. Still, psychology reminds us that the one who cares more carries the heavier risk. And right now, they care a lot. Beyond friendship, that's the message echoing from the Death card. Transformation is at play. They don't want to be your work buddy, your occasional plus one, or the person you call when you're bored. They want exclusivity. They want you as their headline act, not an opening performance to someone else's story. The Three of Cups might represent those group settings where they see you laughing with others, but to them, it's grown tiresome. They long for one-on-one, for the intimacy of knowing they have your undivided attention. The Strength card reveals the depth of their passion, steady and burning. It isn't infatuation, it's endurance. And the Ace of Pentacles tells us they're ready to plant the seed of something lasting. Think less weekend fling and more oak tree that grows for decades. Here's the beautiful irony, you are both their storm and their calm. You stir up their passion, challenge their assumptions, and set their pulse racing, but you also give them a rare sense of peace, the kind of emotional stability no one can counterfeit. Neuroscience would call it serotonin regulation, but poets would call it love. And for you, Aries, this is the moment to decide whether you'll let the fire burn wildly or channel it into a hearth that warms for years to come. When we arrive at the Queen and King of Cups standing together in a reading, we are not in the shallow waters of infatuation anymore, we are in the heart of a romance novel. This is the cinematic moment when the background music swells, the camera zooms in, and two characters finally realize they are mirrors of each other. For you, Aries, this is rare air. You've heard the critiques before, too intense, too blunt, too quick to leap. And yet here comes someone who looks at all that fire and says, yes, that's exactly what I want, that's exactly who I need. It's as if the universe got tired of people asking you to tone it down and decided instead to send you someone who finds your intensity irresistible. Chosen ones don't stumble into casual encounters. They magnetize mirror souls. And in this year of triumph 2025, you're being invited into a deeper question. Are you ready to look into the mirror and see yourself fully reflected, flaws and brilliance alike? It takes courage, and while Aries has no shortage of bravery on the battlefield, intimacy is often the scarier frontier. Still, this pairing is proof that the cosmos wants you to experience not just passion, but resonance. Now, about the blueprint of this connection, the Two of Wands shows choices and planning, while the Lovers and the Empress bring creation and growth. This doesn't necessarily mean cradling babies, it could mean building a business, a home, or even a shared philosophy that becomes your joint legacy. The Ten of Pentacles hums at the bottom like a steady drum beat, reminding us this is not about quick flames but about roots, heritage, and longevity. To them, you are not a weekend adventure, you are a life partner. Of course, the Nine of Wands peeks out as a reminder that you, Aries, are cautious. And who could blame you? After battles fought and wounds endured, your gates don't swing wide open for just anyone. But cautious does not equal closed. It simply means you're taking a moment to measure whether the foundation is strong enough to hold your fire. And then comes the human comedy of it all, communication. Page of Swords, Page of Wands. They want to ask questions, to check in, to be sure you're still interested. Translation? Prepare yourself for texts that read, "So, how was your day?" when what they really mean is, "Please don't reject me, my fragile self-esteem is dangling on your emoji response." You, Aries, will roll your eyes and mutter something sarcastic, but don't lie, you'll also smile. Because the truth is, you love being pursued. You thrive when someone fights for your attention, and even though you act like you're too busy conquering the world to answer, you secretly enjoy the chase coming your way. So the cards are clear, this is not a fling, not a placeholder, not a half-hearted let's just see. This is a rare match. The real question is whether you're willing to let the mirror of the Queen and King of Cups show you not just love, but the parts of yourself you've always been afraid no one else could handle. Spoiler alert, this person can handle it and they want more. At the center of this reading lies a truth as old as human connection itself: reconciliation is possible. Temperance steps forward to remind us that peace is not a fantasy but a discipline, something we create when we choose balance over extremes. The Ace of Cups, meanwhile, brings the promise of fresh emotional waters. Sometimes it's new love, other times it's love reborn, refreshed, purified after the storm. And Judgment? That card reminds us that what's unfolding here isn't random, it's karmic. It's the soul's way of tying threads that may have unraveled, the universe giving you a second chance to align with something bigger than the ego. This is about healing, transformation, and making the daring choice to prioritize love over pride. In the teachings of Buddhism, we are reminded that clinging to "I was right" is like clutching a hot coal. You're the one who gets burned. Compassion, on the other hand, is the cool stream that soothes the burn. And Aries, don't roll your eyes at the word compassion. It doesn't make you soft. It doesn't take away your edge. In fact, it makes you unstoppable. Compassion is the only force that can tame fire without extinguishing it. So, what's the verdict? Someone doesn't just like you, they love you. They're envisioning a future with you, seeing you not as a chapter but as the entire co-written book. They imagine you as a partner, a counterpart, maybe even that person who can balance their chaos with your fire. And yes, they want to make it official. This isn't situationship energy. This isn't half-hearted. This is someone saying, "I choose you." The question is, will you let them in? Only you can decide. But remember, Aries, this is the year of triumph 2025. You're not just bumping into another fleeting romance, you're walking into a chapter that could redefine how you see yourself and what you allow into your life. As one of the chosen ones, your mission is not to settle for good enough. Your task is to recognize and embrace the extraordinary when it knocks at your door. And let's not forget the humor tucked into all of this. Right now, someone is probably pacing around their living room, overanalyzing every syllable of your last text, wondering why you used one emoji instead of another, and questioning if you're thinking of them. Spoiler alert, you are. Maybe not every second, but they've carved out more space in your mind than you'd care to admit. So here we are, Aries. A new chapter waits. Let compassion soften the edges, let love steady your fire, and let yourself be surprised by how beautiful reconciliation can be. And if this resonates, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Talks Tarot. Drop a comment and tell me how these energies are showing up in your world. Until next time, never forget, your fire doesn't just burn, it illuminates, it warms, and in the right hands, it builds a future worth believing in.